Hey there, commercial construction coffee talk fans. Thanks for chiming in. My name's David Corson. I'm your host. I'm also the publisher and editor of Commercial Construction and Renovation magazine. This is what it used to look like. This actually was the last issue I printed in August of 2021. This is White Castle. This is the largest facility or restaurant location that they ever built. And Mike Guinan, we appreciate you being on the cover. And let's see how big this one was. This one was 148 pages. And where was I? I was in Memphis taking a tour of Graceland. We did our retreat back then, and that was an awesome weekend. If you haven't been to Graceland in a while, you should go because it's not just the little house and the souvenir shop and the plane. They've built an amphitheater and all these buildings of Elvis's, cars and, you know, everything that he wore and his guitars and man, it just the opening little movie that they show you is it just gives you chills. But it's an awesome place to go. Beale Street's still awesome. Downtown Memphis, great food. BB King's had dinner one night with their band there, awesome. But Memphis, really cool place. Cold in the winter, beautiful in the summer. So anyway, it's beautiful here in the ATL. Chilly at night, but getting warm. And they're painting. I think they're doing the exterior of my house. Going up there later. I got to meet the door guy and do some measurements. And it's pretty much all downhill here. As soon as we get done with the painting, then it's the Lego set, appliances, flooring, fixtures, lights, hardware for the doors. I can go down the list. The only three things I have left out are my driveway, my fence, and some landscaping. And two big nuts, concrete and landscaping, trust me. But it's all downhill, and probably by the end of March, we'll probably be finished. But it's been a great project, learned a lot, and looking forward to finishing off and give it a big splash in the residential section that we put in months ago. So, but today I have one of my editorial board members in Savannah, Georgia, one of my favorite cities too, and his name is Tommy Linstroth. And he's the CEO and founder of Green Badger, and it's basically a green construction platform for, project management, making your projects go smooth, et cetera. So, Tommy, say hello to our listeners out there on Commercial Construction Coffee Talk.
Hey everybody, David, glad to be here. Glad to circle back around here, and I hope you get into your house sooner rather than later and are catching some fish off your back dock there.
Yeah, we catch and release. They say the water's clean, and if are you familiar with Lake Lanier? Do you?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's got 600 miles of coastline. I wouldn't eat anything out of there just because I just wouldn't. I just catch and release. But there's some big, bass, trout. There's all sorts of stuff in there, and I'm into the water skiing and just putting around. But it's great. So Tommy's been on the board for a long time, and his PR person reached out to me and said, "Hey, you should have Tommy on." I'm like, I don't think I've ever had him on there. I know he's done some articles over the years, but you spoke at one of my events too, right? Way back in the day, and it. So I was like, "Yeah, let's get Tommy on." So we figured out a time, and here he is. So welcome aboard. So the way we're going to do this, Tommy, is we're going to do it in three parts. You're going to tell your story, where you grew up, where you went to school, kids, pets, what have you, and how you ended up where you are today. And then we'll talk about lessons learned on the roller coaster that we've all been on for the past 4 or 5 years, and any cool projects that you might be working on or trends that you see out there in green construction. And then you'll leave your contact info, one positive thought or phrase, and then we'll close it out. So, with that said, the floor is yours. Tell us your story.
sure. Appreciate it. Again, I'm Tommy Linstroth, founder of Green Badger. And as mentioned, it's a software company I started to really help general contractors streamline and automate green construction compliance. So everything from LEED certification to carbon tracking to minority and women subcontractor reporting, anywhere on that sustainability spectrum. It's typically been a long manual process of tracking filled with dozens of spreadsheets, and we built Green Badger to really automate all of that. So I'm in Savannah, Georgia. We're completely distributed, so my team is all over the country, but been in Savannah now 21 years as of this year. Originally, though, from Wisconsin, but it just got too cold. So grew up in Wisconsin. My family is all still there. My parents were just here this weekend. I actually put them on a plane back to Wisconsin this morning, but they are all in the Racine, Milwaukee area, if you're familiar with that. So southeast corner of the state, right on Lake Michigan. So you get all that wonderful lake effect snow. So I grew up there, went to high school there, went to college at the University of Wisconsin in Platteville, which is on the southwest side of the state, with a focus on business. And really towards the latter half of my college career, got super interested in sustainability. Unfortunately, my couldn't stick around. I didn't want to go on the doctor plan of 7 years to change my major and totally recirculate it. So I got a minor in environmental science, went to work in business, was actually working for a publication called Referee Magazine, which was a magazine for sports officials. And I was a marketing guy helping them do ad copy and writing all sorts of quippy stuff. But really realized my passion was in sustainability. So decided that the best way to do that was to dive back in and go back to school and study it. So decided to go get a master's of environmental studies. And when looking at schools, I had to be on a coast and it had to be warm. So I looked sort of East Coast, West Coast, and ended up moving to Charleston, South Carolina, going to the College of Charleston and their environmental studies program, which is what brought me to the South. So did that, started in 2002, graduated from there in 2004, and then was looking for opportunities to stay in the area. So I ended up moving to Savannah, taking a job with a real estate development company called Malaver Inc. And they did, they were committed to green construction. Again, in 2004, this was kind of crazy. People were like, why are you doing this? What laws did you break of why do you have to pay this penance and build green? And we're like, no, we're choosing to do it because we think it's better for business. So we did the first LEED certified historic building in the Southeast. We did the first LEED certified shopping center, the first LEED McDonald's. We did some of the first LEED affordable housing in the state. So I really cut my teeth in the sustainable design and construction, working for that great company, and using our own dollars and cents to figure out what actually worked, what worked from a design perspective, what worked from a construction perspective. And since we owned those buildings, what works from an operational perspective. So not just what sounds good or the newest flashy thing, but what would we invest millions of dollars in that we wanted to then maintain and lease out. So people kept calling saying, hey, why are you guys doing this? How do you do this? And so started helping other people do it, and eventually started my own consultancy business, which was Trident Sustainability Group, to help people really up and down the East Coast figure out how do you design and construct buildings sustainably, and how do you incorporate sustainability into your own business strategy. And through that, really just grew, worked on 100 projects or so, and it was like, man, I'm using spreadsheets. All my buddies and peers are using spreadsheets. You go to the conference and everybody else is using spreadsheets, and it's just manual. I mean, all the stuff you're going through building your house, right? You got to track every sheet of drywall, every paint, every door hinge, every screw, and all of it was being done with a manual review process, put into a bunch of spreadsheets, and you get to the end of the project, and you're hoping you did it correctly. And for contractors, this was not optional. This is a contractual obligation that they have to meet. And so if you get to the end and find out you did something wrong, it's not a good place to be in. And so built Green Badger really to help that problem that I was suffering through, that I was slogging through for years. And that's, here we are today talking about Green Badger.
Hey, I did for those of you who haven't been to Savannah, there's you can go on the ghost tour at night, and it's a very, very cool city, great food, and we did the retreat, and I think it was my women's retreat, and we were right there on the square, and but we did the ghost tour at night, and it was excellent. It was a really, really good time. A little cheesy, they got some fake guys, but some really good stories. And hey, if you haven't gone to Savannah, I mean, big ships go right down into the river, and yeah, shoot, Charleston's only a couple hours north. You got Hilton Head right up I-95, and they got the beaches, and it's a really, really cool town, and fairly easy to get to. From Atlanta, it's about a 4.5 hour ride. Down to Macon, 2.5 over on I-16 to Savannah, and boom, Hilton Head another 45 minutes up. I've done that ride. I don't know how many times, but I've done it plenty over the year. And but talking about sustainability. My family's been in demolition construction since 1888, and it's about fifth generation. So we were in sustainability before, or recycling before sustainability was even a word. And I had, as a grandson, I was outside of Philadelphia. When all the grandsons got their driver's license at 16, you had to go work in the scrap yard. So I shoveled asbestos. I was in the scrap yard. I railed railroad tracks. I did all sorts of stuff, but really we're a recycling company. And, my grandpa used to say, hey, another man's junk is another man's gold. We just cut it up. And he's got killer 8 millimeter film of after World War II. He was a combat engineer at Patton. He rebuilt all the bridges. But anyway, all the tanks and the Jeeps were all coming back to the scrapyard and they're cutting up the metal and melting it so it can be put into something else. So I was in the sustain, like I said, before it was even a word. And so when it came out, I was like, wow, that actually recycling is a really cool thing. But I grew up with it. So it's if you're not doing recycling, you're not being sustainable in today. I mean, we tried with this house, we tried to be as green as possible. I didn't want to go overboard, but we just wanted to be as green as possible, just as like an asset. If I ever did want to sell a house, that I knew that it was sustainable. I put the smart technology in, and so and a lot of people that build today, it's not that tough to be sustainable. You can go to different degrees, but it's very easy to do it, and you can feel good about yourself. Am I right about that?
Yeah, I mean, my house, I would say I probably went a little more over the top, being that this is like my day in and day out, but it's lead platinum. But I just had an electrician over because we had some faulty switches and a circuit breaker that blew, and I was complaining because I was like, man, my bill has been higher. We got a electric car, so it's driven up our bill a little bit. Though I never go to the gas station, which is pretty awesome. But I was like, man, it's like I had to pay $100 on my electric bill. He's like $100, like my electric bill is $800 a month, and he lives, in the same city as me. So you know what? I
Right.
mean, do it for whatever reason you want. But if you're saving $700 a month on your utility bill, that's a pretty good payback from my book. And my story too. I started recycling when I look back at it. When I was like 12 to go make money, I was going through all of the construction job sites and I was pulling all the aluminum cans out of the dumpsters that people were just chucking in there. And same thing, haul them over to my dad would drive me to the metal yard and we'd cash in all these cans, and I was doing it for cold hard cash, right, as a kid. But it's like, yeah, that was your, first foray into sustainability and waste diversion and all of these other things. And it just comes full circle.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Like I said, I my first superintendent was my uncle Frank Schuler. He was one bad SOB, and may he rest in peace. But if you weren't there at 6:55, you were in big trouble because you had to be ready to go at 7, man. And if you didn't, you had to take your shower. The OSHA guys were there, get all the lead off you, but learned a lot from him. Just doing everything right. And since then, I mean, shoot, I still have my erector set. When I grew up. So I was always fooling around with stuff. I'm a builder. Listen, I built this magazine for 25 years. It was just done with paper, ink, and, so forth. Now we do it digitally. But I build something every month and, and I have a construction background. It's so funny how things, as you learn, they all, history always repeats itself, and you can take little bits and pieces of everything that you did, and you can kind of mold yourself how you want to run your business and I'm a publisher, so now I'm a content creator because I'm digital. But it's still I when I get this house done, I'll be able to say I built that. That what because I can always say I built that. Yeah, that's mega. Yeah, I built that. I do that every month. But now I'm gonna say, yeah, I built that. And I told my wife, look, if we build this thing, we want to build the ground up ourselves. And I found a contractor to help me pull the permits in the county that I'm here north of Atlanta, up by the lake. You had to have be a registered contractor. So really acting as a project manager firm, he pulled my permits, and now I'm going to go get my contractor's license when this is done, and do some more builds. There's a housing shortage, obviously, and we would like to continue on that realm and continue with my residential column in there too that I put in. So it kind of had a couple little tentacles out there of different things that I was going to do, just like yourself. You're thinking, you're looking at spreadsheets. Oh my God, I live on spreadsheets. That I was just going through my lender. He's like, we got to do the audit at the end of your construction loan and this and that. So all weekend I was kind of looking at stuff, and I had everything pretty much in there, and I was like, hey, this isn't that bad. The only thing I can't read are some of the guys' what their last names are that I wrote on their checks or whatever, or they wrote, but other than that, but using technology to manage a project is, other than, back in the day with slide rules and this and that, and then they got into Excel files. It is so much easier if you can find the right platform that you like and learn how to use it. You will cut so much time and headache out of your project, and not only your personal life, because it's all there and it's very easy to manage. It's technology. You can't be scared of it. You have to take it on head on, make whatever, learn from it, learn from your mistakes, but learn how to use it, and you will have a much smoother gig. And because you can share it, you can go in the cloud, everybody's on there, change orders, all that stuff. It's so much easier. Am I right?
That's well, I'm in the business, so yeah,
Yeah,
but
that's why you're there,
100%, right?
man.
I mean, it's like when you look at these manual processes, again, you're a bit of a drive from your house under construction, somewhat, right? So it's like have somebody who can document this, send you photos, send you videos that you can then manage, and in 2 years, if you want to go and see what was behind your drywall, you probably have photos or videos of it. If you need to go self-diagnose a problem after the way, or, you need to go audit the materials that were used, you've got a digital submittal that's sitting there. So again, from the constructability to the long-term operability, if you're not using technology, it's a slog. And again, construction has been one of the slower adopters of technology. I think that's obviously starting to change, but one of the challenges, there's just so much of it, right? So inaction is sometimes the easiest path. You get sales calls 100 times a day. You're trying to filter out what's crap, what's good before you put your entire faith. I was talking to somebody the other day, and it's a pilot project for construction can be like 3 years, right? So it might take a while before you've vetted something to know it's going to work. You're not just going to, if you're a builder, say, hey, let's put 500 projects on one platform we haven't tried and tested before. So just in and of itself, it's slow moving because the risk can be high if it fails, right? If you're building a $50 million project and something got screwed up because the technology was wrong, that sucks. And then just the time factor to vet these things can just take a long time. And then you've got to move projects that are nothing starts and stops at the same time. So it's not just like, hey, let's start all of these projects at once. That doesn't happen. So just by the nature of the beast of the world we live in, it's an industry that's not that just has an innate challenge of moving at speed because of the various time frames and risks and all these other things. So it's a huge opportunity, but certainly understandable why perhaps it's been a little bit slower to adopt some of these technologies than other industries that we see.
Yeah, we took so much video because I was a pain in the ass when I went up there because we pretty much knew all the interior stuff. My wife, she'd done a ton of basements, bathrooms, kitchens. She's basically an interior, color consultant designer. And I said, look, we got to find a grader. Got to find someone to clear the land. We got to need a civil engineer to do the HOP, the LGP, all those surveys that you need. And then I needed a roofer and I needed a concrete guy and a framer. But other than that, we had everything else taken care of. So once all those big nuts were done and the house was dry, windows were in, doors were in, then my wife's crew came in. And I was, especially on the concrete, I was like, oh, what's the slurry test? Tell me how that works. Why do you do that? And and I was taking video. So I took video of everything. And when I'm done, I'm gonna put it into a nice little splash and give kudos to all the people that helped me work on it. And but I asked a lot of questions. I just did. I mean, it took about 4 months for me to get my permits, just because they say 2 weeks to get your septic tank approved. You need a septic tank up on the lake, and then maybe 2 weeks after that, you'll get your permit. If they're perfect, you can still add a couple of weeks there. But first, they made me change my address because I was kind of in the cul-de-sac, but on the main road. But my driveway was on the main road, so they made me change. After I'd done everything, they could have told me that weeks before I'd done my plans and all that stuff. Oh, you need to change your new address. Then they didn't like where the septic tank was, so they made me move it to the side and the back in this little berm that we had. And like I said, we were gonna put the basement in, the land, too much dirt, so I had to redraw those. But from August, it's been really smooth. A couple of bad weather days where you're gonna lose that stuff, but Mother Nature, you can't control it. But all in all, taking video is so cool because when guys are up there, hey, whatever, hey, send me a picture. Send me a little video. Let me look at it. I don't need to come up there. I can just see it and make a decision on what we're going to do. And it's just it's instead of me driving up there, it takes me 20 minutes to get up there. I go over the lake, I go over the Beaver Dam on Lake Lanier, I go up one exit boom there, get in there, and I'm up there in 20 minutes. But still, I could have something going on here. I could look at it on the phone and boom, 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 done, make a decision, move on. And it's technology is just amazing. And then you can add that AI component into it as well. And it's just going to be unbelievable what construction is going to be like in the next, 5 years. You won't even recognize how things are done, I don't think. It's just going to be it's an amazing time to be alive, just with where technology is and the whole world in general. Everything's changing. So it's I really do think that it's going to be an exciting time to be alive and see history made. And in construction, wow, it's the possibilities are endless. So. Let's talk about March of 2020. Since you were in Milwaukee, I was in the second week of March. I was up in Milwaukee looking at hotels for my retreat, and I was going to do both of them up there. We were going to do the Harley tour, and then there was some museum for the women to go to, and we were up there, and I'm sitting in the airport, and Tom Hanks got the bug, and then everything got shut down. Actually, I was going to Ohio State that weekend to see him play DU in the horseshoe for lacrosse. That got canceled too. And well, it's going to be a couple weeks, couple months, and then here I am 5 years later. I'm still kind of talking. We're out of the tunnel, but all those speed bumps and hindrances that were along the way, but we're out of it. But we're still kind of talking about it. What lessons did you learn as from March of 2020 until today that our listeners out there in Commercial Construction Coffee Talk could take, could go, yeah, now that I can comprehend.
Yeah, the benefit of travel insurance, right?
Yeah.
I was thinking the same thing. We were about to head out to Breckenridge. We were talking about skiing earlier. We were supposed to fly to Breckenridge, and literally the next day, were like, we shut the lifts down. We're like, yep, guess we're not going there. And we couldn't get our Airbnb refunded because it was the day before. So that was kind of
Yeah.
a bummer. But alas, in the what has been a positive is like all of the and this is not advice, it's just the way of life, but now you can cancel a plane ticket with no fee. Like some of the flexibility that has now gotten built into the logistics and travel industry is like a very small silver lining of all of the craziness, that I can cancel my Delta flight and not have them charge me $150 for sheer convenience that they can, and I can't do anything about it. I mean, I will say for the construction industry, it is one of those. It was considered essential. We didn't see anything shut down, right? We've been through all sorts of stuff, and now interest rates going up, and we had markets crash, markets come back up, and we've still just seen resiliency in the industry. And so for us, especially as a startup, that really helped us weather the storm. And we only had one project of the hundreds and hundreds of projects get put on hold. And that project was a University of Michigan project, and that's now back under construction again. So all things being considered for construction, I think a lot of people were able to keep on cranking away, and it hasn't stopped. I was just talking to a builder the other day, and they had the backlog they have is like 5x their annual amount of volume they've already got in backlog. So even when you see things like the office market maybe is slowing down, people say it's slowing down, but we still see a lot of core and shell office buildings in some of these markets going up. The data centers, all of these things are just still rocking and rolling. So as an industry, it's a good place to be. And even when you mentioned AI, this is also a great industry that AI is going to help, but it's not one where they're going to displace us all as workers, because we're out there building things with our hands, as you said. And that's another great thing about this industry, being able to look back and say, hey, we did that, we designed that, we built that, we contributed to that. That's leaving hopefully a very positive legacy on it. So all things considered, that's why I love this industry. Construction is awesome. And everything we're doing to slog through and advance the industry is nothing but good for the built environment and for those of us that are working and contributing into it.
Hey, all the contractors, when everything went kaput, everybody put their masks on. They got on planes. A lot of the projects were, marked essential, And I had three of them. I had a fire station, I had an old folks home, and I forget what the other one was. They were building some park or whatever. But I watched them all go up. They all put the safety precautions into place that you had to. But in Georgia, we were kind of open. We really didn't, they shut down a little bit. We're the first ones that opened. Your projects really were determined by the state that you were doing that business in. If you went up north where their restrictions were a little longer or a little tighter, your project might have got dinged a little on delivery or time. But for the most part, those people got on the planes and went and did their thing. And um, just remember, all those people had to worry about if they were going to get catch the darn bug or whatever. But just about everybody, they all just went on with their life and had to deal with the PPP on the protection to make sure your employees are, whether it was scheduling or whatever, it was still a learning curve for everybody. But I think most of the people that I've talked to over the last 3 to 4 years, architects, brands, contractors, vendors, they all said that they had some of the best years because they learned more about their company, learned how to be flexible, how to turn on a dime when you needed to, and that they can trust their employees to get things done. They don't have to be in the office to do it. Now, the biggest thing is how do I get my employees back in the office because they want to go to rock concerts, sit on the beach, go watch sports games or whatever. But going back to the office, a couple days a week maybe, or can I still work out of my house? And and some people even said I would have had the greatest time, revenue years, but I couldn't find project managers or superintendents, to oversee the project. And, you don't want to bite off more than you can chew, especially in retail, because when the circulars are built for the opening of the store, it can't be delayed. And same thing with a hotel or whatever you're building. It, you want to deliver your project on time, on budget, architectural stimulating, and don't let any of the hindrances get in your way. But it was and it was an amazing time. And a lot of the contractors are still out there. Some of these people don't even have smartphones, that are out there. They're still using slide rules and all that. And those guys, if they don't get it together, and you know who you are out there if you're watching, you've got to get the technology gig in your repertoire because it'll save you so much time and everything will go smooth. All you have to do is learn it. And it's basically push button 101. I hate to say it like that, but it really is just manipulating, the software by doing what you're supposed to do. And once you learn how to do it, it'll be like riding a bike. You'll never forget how to do it. But the biggest thing is technology in 6 months, it might be outdated because everything's going at warp speed, right? I mean, you started out with your software, you've probably upgraded it, added new bells and whistles and all that stuff, right?
Every day. I mean, we've got to
Every
see what's
day. There we
there.
go. Every day.
We're either improving the back end, or I mean, nowadays you got to spend just as much time on the security landscape because there's all sorts of bad actors out there that are looking to do things. So we spend a lot of time on that, and then the regulations that we support, those change every couple of years. So we're always trying to stay on top of what's coming next or what a state might do that's slightly different, and then how do we expand it to make it just more usable across all the sectors that we support. So that is, it's a fun part of it, but it's also one of the challenges of just how fast things are moving. And as we alluded to earlier, construction just takes a long, long time. And if that changes, we've been on LaGuardia since 2017, having projects teams use us. So that's going on almost 8 years now for project delivery, which again would have been ridiculous if you were using a spreadsheet. I can't even imagine what that would have looked like.
Did you work on
But
the Delta terminal?
yeah,
Yeah. So LaGuardia was a dump. I grew up in Manhattan, all right, and I've seen LaGuardia. I'm going to be 62 in June, so I'm giving my age out. Bottom line is LaGuardia's been a dump. It was always a dump. They did a beautiful job finally. That terminal over there, and there's still construction going on there. It's still, it's still a kind of a mess, but that was a beautiful job if you worked on that. I hadn't, I didn't fly from March of 2020 till I think 23 or maybe last year was I forget. Anyway, I hadn't traveled for a couple of years and I flew into New York and I went in there and I didn't even recognize where I was. I was, what terminal am I in? And I was like, wow, this is really plush. And I did not know that you worked on that, but they did a great job, you know?
it's beautiful. And again, for one of the busiest airports, it's handcuffed geographically, right? It's got water. It's got all this infrastructure around it. The teams, which was headed up by Skanska, did just a fantastic job. I think there were a lot of GCs on there, but I know Skanska was one of the primary, Skanska Walsh. To be able to get in and out and get your workers in and out and get all your trade partners in and out of this super congested area where you're building around active terminals and runways and everything else that they had to deal with. And yes, I mean, you walk in that now and you almost kind of take it for granted if you didn't understand how bad it was, like you said, if you didn't realize what it used to be to what it is now. It's such a transformation. It's again one of those things where even though we were just a small software provider as part of it, it's really cool to be in there and be like, that's cool. We were this little tiny
Yeah, but you
hair of a
made everything
sliver.
run on time and everything else with the software, you know? I mean, that's the amazing thing. Your little component made that whole terminal come into play, you know?
Now, I won't overstate it that much, but we played a tiny minor role of helping ensure sustainability goals were met, and that's pretty cool, I think.
Well, like I said, I was blown away when I flew in there, and it was like I said, I was like, okay, it used to be D terminal. I'm in C, D. What else are they doing out here? And but it was really, really nice. I was very impressed. So nice job. Even though you think it was just that your contribution, but believe me, it was probably more than that. Um, Talk about some of the cool projects. What's your coolest project that you've done in your career, do you think?
Oh, in my career, I mean, from the real estate, when I worked for a real estate developer, Inc., again, we did some cool stuff. And I think the shopping center in Savannah, Georgia, was the first LEED certified shopping center in the country. And again, this was in like 2005 and six when things were not nearly as common as they are today. But one of the super cool things we did is you get these huge shopping centers, tons of roof area. We drained all of that into a giant cistern. We put this huge 500,000 gallon cistern behind the shopping center to capture all of the rainwater off the roofs and then use that for irrigation around the site, which we thought was pretty awesome. We were originally going to use it to flush the toilets, but the code officials were not, that was not cool in the code back then. And one of the questions we got was, well, what happens if somebody, drinks the toilet water that wasn't treated? And we were like, if somebody's drinking the toilet water, the fact that it's rainwater is the last thing that we need to be worried
Yeah.
about. But that was a concern. So we used it for irrigation. There's permeable pavement in almost at least half of parking spots, so all of that water can infiltrate on site. And again, it was a renovation of existing shopping center, some new stuff. And 20 years ago, it just was not something that you saw commonly done. So that was really cool to be a part of. And then also with that company, we did some of the first LEED certified affordable housing in the state of Georgia, which we were really trying to demonstrate. You talked about it earlier. Everybody could be building green homes. It's not super rocket science that we're trying to crack. And if you can do it for affordable housing, if we can build LEED Gold affordable housing, everybody can be building energy efficient, healthy, high performance housing. And it's really a shame if we don't. So the projects that I was on the ownership side of, those are two of the ones that jump to mind. On the software side, we've been, again, we're not taking credit for any of the construction. We're just a platform that teams are using to automate sustainability. But it's been everything from office fit outs to, army barracks to airports and embassies and really everything in between. So we've been fortunate to be part of some, what we see at the end of the day are some really cool projects all over the US. We've got 100 or so in Canada. We've got projects in six other countries in Europe, in the Middle East. We've got some in the Caribbean. So I'm fortunate to find use cases all over the place, and just green construction's not going anywhere. We've got state, local, federal, private, public, higher ed requirements all built in demanding this. And it continues to evolve. It continues to get more complicated and complex, as does things like the building code and the energy code. It's an evolution, and back to the importance of technology to be able to continue to push the envelope as well as just stay up with all of the different requirements. So if you're a contractor, you've got to be safe on site. You've got to be on budget. You've got to manage schedule and time. You've got 50 different subcontractors. Now you've got sustainability requirements on there. You've got to track all of your waste and your carbon on site. You've got to make sure your products are all eco-labeled. You've got to make sure you're documenting with photos all of your stormwater protection and all of these things. And it's just, you've got to do that and get the building built So if you're doing that without technological tools, just it's makes it a lot more challenging and complex than it needs to be.
I'll tell you, the most important thing that I think, with building this house was the insulation application. Because, you could put foam, you could put regular, and putting the insulation in, it just made the house so quiet. And then when the drywall went up, oh my God, it was just amazing. But I told the guy, I said, look, my trophy house that I had for 17 years, and the upstairs during the summer was always hot, and I didn't want that to happen. And I was talking to the insulation guy, well, what do you think? And he's like, look, man, I do it this way. When we button that house up, in fact, they're coming in now that the drywall's finished, and they're coming in, I think, to blow in upstairs. But it is so quiet and so tight. I said, look, I don't want to lose cold air. I don't want to lose hot air. During the winter, I want to make sure that the thing is buttoned up, and I don't want to have any barriers that are letting any of that stuff in, or animals, whatever it might be, up on the ridge line of your roof. And but it was amazing after they put the insulation in. I was like, wow. And then we went through, and I was like, God, this is just unbelievably. It was just warmer, just without the drywall on there. So, but that was my big take, coming
But
back.
what type of insulation did you end up using?
We used some Dow, and then he put certain, regular
Was it
insulation
spray
in the
foam
walls.
though, or did you do fiberglass, or what type of insulation did you end up doing?
He had the codes on there. All I know is that we had vaulted ceilings, so they had this. It was a dark colored insulation, and even the inspector, when he came in through the county, he went, because that was my big inspection: framing, mechanical, plumbing, electrical. They all do it at once in this one county. So he came in and looked at everything, and he had marked on his to-do list, hey, you need to replace that. So I went in, and he goes, oh no, that guy, that's just a different color, but that's the G32 or whatever it was. And but I'm telling you, it made a huge difference just before even the drywall was installed. That it was just warmer and quieter. I mean, out of all the products, that was the one that and drywall. You want to make sure your drywall is just smooth as a baby's butt, and that afterwards you got to clean up before you start painting, because you don't want to get any of that dust or any of that stuff in there. And one of the craziest thing was the county had written this new code, and they wanted to make sure that the bathrooms weren't going to leak. And we only have one tub in there. Well, actually, we have two tubs. One's I doubt we'll ever use it. It's in our master bedroom, but they made us put the tile in and the liners. And I told the guy, I go, why are you doing that now? Well, the drywall's coming in, you're putting the liner in, all that dust is going to, I'm gonna have to pay the tile guy to rip it out and redo it. He goes, I know, unless you use a Schluter system, that's the way that we do it here. I don't make the codes, I'm just the messenger. And I said, doesn't that, Ben, I talked to the chief building official, and I said, Brandon, doesn't that sound stupid to you? Because you're making my guy come out, put the mortar in, and put the liner in, and then it's going to get all dirty, and then we're going to have to rip it out and redo it. And he goes, I know. We hired a third party inspector too, because I wanted some recourse. Plus, I wanted another set of eyes, because it was our first build, and I knew that I was going to deal with this inspector if I built more houses up there. His name was Jason. And he told me the same thing. He goes, look, man, I'm only going to dock you for a couple of these roof braces that I wanted up there. But here's all the little things that I'm not going to do, but I just want them done. Just send me the picture, and so I know it's done, because you and I are going to you're probably going to see me down the road. And I know Russell. Russell and I go through the classes, so we know what all the new codes are. But this is the code. They want to make sure your tubs aren't going to leak. I looked at him. I said, Brandon, I own this land. I'm building the house. Do you really think that I want anything leaking that's liquid or gas in the house? That's like probably the most important thing to me. He goes, I know, David, but there's some contractors, and they don't care. They give contractors a bad name because they do have leaks, and they don't do that stuff. And you're kind of a hybrid. And I said, well, at least I know. And he goes, yeah, if you build up here, these are the little things that, he had about 24. They were all cosmetic stuff. Oh, I need another strap on the duct. Hey, I want you to put a little plate there to protect the PVC pipes, so they don't, if they're putting in the sheetrock, that they don't put a hole through one of the pipes. And anyway, and the most important thing he said to me, he goes, look, I'm not here to penalize you. I'm here to make sure that this house is safe, and that it won't, catch on fire or get water damage. That's what I'm here to do. And if you're going to be a builder, we want to make sure that that you know all these things so you can tell your subs that you're going to keep, hey, this is what we got to make sure that, as we move forward, because he's going to be looking for this stuff. And but keeping the site clean is just a natural thing that you need to do. My wife's, she's a clean freak. So anytime that she go up there, she's cleaning up stuff with the cans. We want it just looking immaculate. And even the silt fence, when the storm came through or winds, you get blown. I'm up there with the staple gun, staple, and I just wanted it to look really, really nice whenever they came up there. And but yeah, the insulation. I tried to get this hemp insulation from one of my lacrosse buds that was out in Colorado, and um, he was busy getting some new machinery in or whatever. But I was trying to get the hemp in there for the green gig, not the fire, but it was fiberglass in there. I think I used some Dow and some, I forget what the other one was, but it was a. I'll tell you, I've had so much fun the last 6 or 7 months building the thing that I have the building bug, so it's going to be cool. And my wife, it's my wife's company. She knows what she's doing. I just kind of do the numbers and go up and look, but it's been fun, for sure. um, if someone's out there on commercial construction coffee talk land and they wanted to reach out to you to bunch, maybe they've never done any of the sustainability rankings, being lead, platinum, or whatever to get your plaque on your wall in your facility or whatever, and they've never done it, or they were thinking about looking for a new technological platform to help them, ease and streamline, the construction process. How would someone reach out to you?
Best way, our website, getgreenbadger.com, which we also have a huge free resources section. If somebody wants more information on how do you do any of this, irrespective of the technological side of things, we've got ebooks, we've got webinars, we have templates, we have cheat sheets. It's literally there for the taking. If you are finding yourself wanting to learn more about crane construction, or you are thrust onto a project and you need to get up to speed, we even have a free e-learning that's called Green Badger Academy. It's a 2.5 hour self-paced course. You can take it for free, and it literally goes step by step on what do you need to know to manage a green construction project. So all of that stuff is available for free at getgreenbadger.com. And then you can find us on all the normal socials at Green Badger or Get Green Badger as well.
So you grew up in Wisconsin, so I know where the Badger came, and now I know where the green comes from. I
You
did
put
not.
it together. That is the exact.
I was just watching Wisconsin play Notre Dame on the frozen pond Friday night and Saturday. I think they split. Notre Dame they killed them on Friday night, but they were down I think 4-1 yesterday when I was watching, or Saturday. But uh, DU and Wisconsin, they were arch rivals when I was back in the '80s in school. I mean, they come in with the band and everything else, and it was crazy. But they play in the Big Ten now. They don't play in the NCHC. So, but they still have a really good team. So. Uh, uh, but listen, if you're out there, reach out to, go on his website. He's got all these learning initiatives. And if you're ever thinking about, being green or learning how to do it, take the class. It's for free. It's right there on his site. And then if you want to answer questions, hey, shoot him an email, find him on LinkedIn or wherever. And I'm sure Tommy will, get back to you and stuff. Um, so as we finish up, if there was one positive thought or phrase that you would like to leave with our listeners, as look, we're in the last week of February, the second month of Q1. March is waiting for us, the third month, next week. What would it be?
Ah, man, the tried and true around our household is just you got to believe, whether it's the older version of that or whether it's the Ted Lasso version of believe. But it's having that mindset of we can do this, we are going to do this, we believe we can do this, whether it's in your personal life or your business life. That helps us keep going here.
Hey, I totally believe, it's like the Miracle on Ice. It was the anniversary, February 22nd, when we beat the Russians in hockey. Those guys believed. Look at them. They were a bunch of college kids. Mark Johnson, University of Wisconsin. He played, he was a Badger. So, the bottom line is that if you don't believe, you can know as much, but if you don't believe in yourself and what you're doing, such a good saying. And last year I ran 5 to 7 miles. I still do it, but I ran over just under 2,100 miles. And every day I did a positive thought. So I believe in there. And so this year I'm doing word of the day. I've already used believe. I did it in January. That word's already gone. So now I'm doing all my easy words that are connected. But now I'm starting to get into some like, cool ones that people are like, what the heck does that mean? But believe. You got to believe. Don't look back. The scoreboard's not going to change. There's nothing back there except the stats. All right. Move forward, believe, have a positive mindset. Don't surround yourself with negative people. Plenty of people that you can surround yourself that have the vision, and you'll have such a much better life in both personal and business. And uh, believe. I love it. I love it. Listen, if anybody wants to reach me, I'm at David C at ccr-mag.com. Hey, if you don't send me something, it's like playing the lottery. You can't, if you don't buy a ticket, you can't win. So if you don't send me something, I can't get you on here. His PR person sent me a release and we were talking. I was like, hey, he's on the board. I don't think I've had him on here. He's written some articles. He's come to my event, spoke. Let's put him on here. So if you don't send me something, I can't look at it. Very tough to get in the magazine. However, we have all these other platforms. We're posting content all day long. We had just under 49 million people that hit the website last year consuming the content, and we're just growing. Hopefully, I'll go over that number and that benchmark and maybe do 60 million. I have no idea. I personally, I think there should be 100 million people that are on, out there on the wild, wild web. There's 8 billion people on the planet. That's just a small little percentage. So, but we'll take the 49, just under 49 million. And we're continuing. I think I had just under 6 million for the month of January. I can't wait to see what February, even though it's a shorter month. But listen, send me a note, turnaround time, 24, 48 hours. We send you your post. It's meta tagged. It's SEO, search engine optimization. That's how Google finds you. And it's a win-win. And so send it to me. Let us judge the book by its cover. It could be an anniversary. It could be a new product announcement. It could be a charity golf tournament you did. It could be any of those things. Plus, I post a lot of other stuff on there too. How to buy the right tires for your truck. What's the best insurance, the business insurance to have. So I've kind of put that work-life balance on there. Most of it's construction, but I have some other items on there too that you'll find on there content-wise. So send it to us. Keep it coming because we post all day long, and we love to share that information with you. So a couple things before we finish up. Number one, if you're on the construction site, we want you to be safe. We want you to get home, be able to have dinner with your partner, your husband, your wife, your kids, your pets, what have you. Get some REM sleep, get up and be able to do it the next day. Number two, you're drinking water. Stay liquefied. Do not get dehydrated. All right. That's the athlete in me. The dehydration gives you headaches. That's when accidents happen. That's when you drop the ball or you're not thinking. But if you drink water, put some electrolytes in there and stay liquefied, number one, you're going to have a much better day. Number two, you're going to sleep better at night. And number three, it's just a healthy way to go. So make sure you stay liquefied. Even though it's still chilly here in the winter, you got to stay liquefied all year long. I don't care if it's during the summer or during the winter, stay liquefied. And last but not least, hit that like button so everybody can find this episode out on the web and hear what Tommy has to say about sustainability at Green Badger. So with that said, any last thoughts, Tommy, as we start the week off here, the last week in February?
Yeah, man. I don't know where the first 2 months of this year went. This is gonna be
I don't know where they went. I
totally
mean,
different, apparently.
I've been saying that on my video every day. I'm like, it was just January 1st, and now I've gone through almost 2 months, and it is just crazy how quickly it's gone. I mean, so much has happened in, the last 2 months. I can't even I can't even, I go to bed at night, I look at my, normally I stay involved, but I'm just been jamming, and I look at my phone, I'm like, oh my God, all this stuff happened. I didn't even know it. So and it's all good. Listen, I just take it with a grain of salt, and a lot of that stuff's out of my control anyway, but it's always nice to see what's going on. But time is flying. Am I right?
For sure, for sure.
Yeah. So, well, listen, everybody out there, it's Monday. Have a great rest of the week. And you got Cinco de Mayo coming up in the middle of March. I don't know what the date is, but I know it's coming up. And you got March Madness coming up. You got all this stuff. lacrosse season, hockey season in college. It's booming right now, and soon the boys of summer they're going to get back out on the diamond. And Tommy's got the Savannah Bananas there, man. If you've never been to one of those games, that is unbelievable too. So everybody. Have a great rest of your week and an awesome rest of the year. And before you know it, it's going to be the holidays. So make the best of it because I'm telling you, time is flying. So, Tommy, sign off from Savannah. Say goodbye.
Bye, everybody. David, thank you for having me. Great to see you as always.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm going to sign off from Sugar Hill, right below the Buford Dam on Lake Lanier, oh, about 25 miles, 30 miles north of downtown ATL. And everybody, like I said, have a great rest of the week, and we will see you next time on another episode of Commercial Construction Coffee Talk. Tommy, appreciate it. All right. Good
Yeah,
to see you too. All right.
you too.
Ciao, everybody.